Have you ever heard of a serial killer who not only committed terrifying crimes but also played games with the public and the police, sending them codes and letters as if daring them to catch him? Welcome back to Shadowsphere, where today we explore one of the darkest unsolved mysteries in American history, the Zodiac Killer. Let's travel back to the late 1960s in Northern California. A killer who would come to be known as the Zodiac began a reign of terror, committing brutal murders while taunting the police, the press, and the public. From 1968 to 1969, the Zodiac officially claimed responsibility for 5 murders. Though he hinted in his letters that the real number was far higher, his victims were often young couples caught off guard in remote areas. But this wasn't just any killer. The Zodiac was different. He didn't try to hide in the shadows. He craved the spotlight. After his first 2 known attacks, he began sending a series of letters to local newspapers. And these weren't just ordinary letters. Each one was filled with cryptic symbols and taunting messages. The Zodiac demanded that the newspapers print his letters on the front page, or else he would strike again. It wasn't long before fear spread throughout the Bay Area. One of these early ciphers, known as the 408 cipher, was cracked by a schoolteacher and his wife. The message inside was chilling. The Zodiac wrote about how much he enjoyed killing people, comparing it to hunting dangerous game. He also claimed that the souls of those he killed would be his slaves in the afterlife. But despite this unsettling confession, he left out one crucial detail: his identity. The Zodiac had no intention of being caught, and he was about to make that very clear. The first confirmed Zodiac murders occurred in December 1968, when high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday were shot to death near Benicia, California. The couple was parked on a quiet, rural road when they were ambushed. No suspects were identified, and the case quickly went cold. But 6 months later, in July 1969, the Zodiac struck again, attacking another couple, Darlene Ferrin and Michael Mageau, in Vallejo. This time, the killer approached their car and opened fire, killing Darlene and severely injuring Michael, who would later become one of the few surviving witnesses of the Zodiac's rampage. It was shortly after this attack that the Zodiac began his infamous letter-writing campaign. In these letters, he claimed responsibility for the murders and warned that more were to come. And what made these letters even more unsettling was the fact that they contained cryptograms, codes that challenged the public and authorities to decipher. Now, here's where it gets really strange. While many killers try to remain anonymous, the Zodiac seemed to enjoy teasing the police. He sent detailed descriptions of his crimes and taunted them with the fact that they couldn't catch him. Despite the police having eyewitnesses and even a composite sketch based on Michael Mageau's description, the Zodiac remained elusive. After several more letters, in September 1969, the Zodiac made his next attack at Lake Berryessa. This time, the killer approached another young couple, Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell, while they were relaxing near the water. But unlike his previous attacks this time, the Zodiac wore a black executioner's hood with a strange crosshair symbol on his chest, his now infamous signature. He tied the couple up and brutally stabbed them, killing Cecilia and severely wounding Brian. Before leaving, the Zodiac wrote a message on Brian's car door, again claiming credit for the attack. Even now, decades later, the Zodiac's identity is still a mystery. Some investigators believe that he may have died, while others think he could still be alive, living quietly somewhere, having never been caught for his crimes. But the story doesn't end there. There are many who believe the Zodiac may have continued killing under different aliases or in other areas, and the full scope of his crimes might never be known. So why does the Zodiac Killer continue to capture the public's imagination after all these years? Is it the gruesome nature of his crimes, the unsolved ciphers, or his twisted game with law enforcement? Maybe it's all of these things combined. The Zodiac Killer represents the ultimate unsolved puzzle, a shadowy figure who evaded justice, leaving behind more questions than answers. What do you think? Was the Zodiac simply a man who got lucky? Or was there something much darker going on behind the scenes? Could his identity still be discovered, or will this mystery remain unsolved forever? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching today's episode of Shadowsphere.